Camille Paglia, by title Professor of Humanities at Philadelphia's University of the Arts. By growing reputation, the scourge of American feminism. By self-assessment, America's leading female intellectual. If there's truth in that, it began to emerge in 1990 with the publication of Sexual Personae, an historical analysis of literature and art, which, among other things, hailed the male capacity for creativity, praised much of the classic Western European and American literary canon currently out of favor with many academics, and most provocatively, accepted, in fact trumpeted, the premise that sexual stereotypes spring from basic truths. She considers herself a passionate feminist, a champion of opportunity, individuality, and choice, but contends that modern feminism has fast descended into dogma, intolerance, and male bashing. Tonight, Camille Paglia.
And thanks for staying up later. Here is the so-called scourge of modern feminism, Camille Paglia. Recently you told Charlie Rose that your aim is nothing less than the complete destruction of the Gloria Steinem Wing of modern feminism. You want to explain?
Well, I think that that current feminism began laudably 20 years ago, but quickly got off track into man-bashing and a kind of weepy, whiny, white middle-class ideology, and I'm simply trying to bring back the great feminism of the 20s and 30s of Katharine Hepburn and Amelia Earhart, a feminism that stresses independence, self-reliance, personal responsibility, and not blaming other people for your problems. And I feel directly inspired by the 200-year record of feminism. I think that there is no backlash right now to feminism, but rather to Gloria Steinem's brand of Betty Crocker feminism.
But isn't that 200-year history of feminism a feminism of extraordinary individuals? And all political movements begin with extraordinary individuals, but the notion is to spread it out among the masses. So Amelia Earhart and Katharine Hepburn and Eleanor Roosevelt are fine, but these people stand out. They're aberrations. And the notion, I would think, that a modern feminist would try to advance is this is meant to get beyond Gloria Steinem and beyond Betty Friedan and to somebody who's a housewife in Timbuktu.
You're very right. This current phase of feminism began well, trying to extend feminism to the ordinary woman in the home. And I think that it very quickly left that. As I often seem to speak for the neglected women out there. I've been a career woman. I'm unmarried. I'm childless. But I feel that you know, that the honor of being a mother is often dismissed in the kind of current feminism, which is exclusively concerned with yuppie careerists and their problems, high-paying jobs. And I think the New York media in particular has been utterly servile to the Gloria Steinem brand of feminism. And I am not a conservative, but I think that I'm a libertarian, a 60s libertarian, but I think that the Republicans are correct that there has been a wholesale kind of contempt for family values that, that would characterize my entire background. I'm someone who's pro-pornography, pro-prostitution, pro-homosexuality, pro-legalization of drugs. I represent everything that's a kind of opposed to family values, but I still think that traditional values are the backbone of this country.
What is Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan and the rest, what have they done that's worthwhile? What do you owe them a debt for?
Well, first of all, my feminism precedes either of them, okay? I am on the record back in the 1950s as having made these eccentric transsexual gestures at the age of 5, 6, and 7, all right? So I owe them nothing, okay? I owe them nothing. But Betty Friedan I admire very much. I'm sorry that she has made some rude remarks about me because the current feminism establishment has shunned her. She is shunned, okay? And there are many overlaps between Betty Friedan's views and mine. She is the mother of the modern movement. She founded Now, and the drift of Now away from Betty Friedan is, to me, the whole source of the problem. Gloria Steinem is a cliquish, power-mad, all right, snobbish elitist who has gotten the New York media in a stranglehold, all right, and essentially Gloria Steinem does not speak for all of feminism and now does not speak for all of women, all right, and that has to stop, all right. For Gloria Steinem to go on comparing me to a Nazi, et cetera, I mean, it's just unbelievable. The suppression of independent voices like mine for the last 20 years, all right, is appalling. Current feminism is in a Stalinist phase, a Kremlin phase. Susan Faludi and Naomi Wolf are merely clones of the Kremlin. What I represent is again, a feminism that precedes the current movement and that many people feel more at ease with. I'm someone Gloria Steinem's record with men is rotten, okay? She has made many poor choices. I've never lived with a man, okay? I have fought with men. I fight with men constantly. I never let men take advantage of me, and so because...
Let me interrupt. That may be an interesting fact of your life, that you've never lived with a man or you fought with a man.
Correct.
But I don't see where that gives you a better credential than Gloria Steinem, who may, I don't know her personal history that well, who may have had disappointing relationships with men, if in fact that's the case.
No. Here's the relevance. Marilyn French and Gloria Steinem, these women who, or Karen DeCrow, former head of NOW, these women who were weak toward men, okay, and made bad mistakes, then glommed onto this current feminist ideology to explain to themselves and to others what happened. Well, it wasn't me, it was him. I have never been weak toward men. That's why I don't blame men. My anger toward men, my confrontationalism with men is overt. It's out there, okay? I don't need this brand of feminism to explain weakness, because I'm not weak. I don't need the approval of men. There's no man in the world that I cater to, okay? So what I'm saying is these white middle-class women love this current brand of ideology because it allows them to explain their own weaknesses to the world. You see, it wasn't me. It wasn't me at all. It was the patriarchy and all that crap. These words like patriarchy, which are meaningless, big fuzz words. Right? That's right. You have now put your finger on the gross partisanship of the current phase of feminism. Now, I am a registered Democrat. I voted for Jesse Jackson 4 years ago. I voted for Clinton in this primary and so on. I'm supporting Clinton now. But I'm telling you that the tilt of the feminist agenda toward liberal and the Democratic Party, that has been a disaster for feminism. Feminism should be bipartisan. It should transcend our party system. And that is exactly what has distorted and deformed current feminism. The reason for the current backlash, again, it's not because there's a backlash against feminism, is because of these terrible errors, the injustice, the irrationality, and the just general hysteria of the Gloria Steinem wing of feminism. You have focused on it. If the tables were turned, people would be enraged by the way Clarence Thomas was treated. And I think that no man, no woman should be treated the way he was. It was just, in a democracy, I mean, he was just stripped of his dignity, of his rights, and so on. And I feel he emerged from the hearings with, as I said, vastly increased stature. I wasn't impressed with him at all until he fought back on television. That was an amazing night, which of course no one wants to admit, the power of or the way he turned the tables on his accusers. It was a magnificent display.
It seemed in some quarters that if you didn't verify this process, validate this process, that you didn't think sexual harassment was an issue of concern. Right. That it seemed to be a referendum on whether or not you approved or disapproved of sexual harassment.
There you have the cheap, simplistic polarities that the Gloria Steinem wing is always forcing on people. And until the New York media wakes up and gets out from under the inky squid cloud of Gloria Steinem, it's never going to see reality as it is. It's always going to be surprised by what the country really thinks. The country is far more conservative than the New York media.
How much of this constant invoking of Gloria Steinem's name in our first visit and now this one, is simply a clash of ideas, and how much is jealousy? I mean, Gloria Steinem is a pop icon, all right? That's what you aspire to be. Maybe you think you are already. How much of this is like, hey, I should be paid as much attention to, I should be as much a household name as Gloria Steinem?
Well, for 20 years, I struggled to get heard. I was drummed out of the feminist movement 20 years ago because of my passion for the Rolling Stones, who were declared sexist, right? And I struggled to get heard for 20 years. And while I watched all these figures constantly being trotted out by the media as somehow spokesman for feminism, spokesman for women, I feel that Gloria Steinem is a real rip-off artist. She's never been the source of any original idea. She's an extremely weak thinker. She's a sentimentalist. She was very important at one time. In the late 60s, she played a pivotal role. I was a great admirer of her. In fact, every women's class that I teach, the class has to recognize Gloria Steinem's name and realize that she was founded Ms. Magazine and so on. Until her recent book, her name was completely forgotten. Young women didn't even know her name. She was very important. And I as a matter of fact, early on, Time Magazine was talking about, it was 20 years ago, who would make good candidates for the presidency for the future. And I wrote it, and I suggested Gloria Steinem, as she aged, was going to get much more venerable and much wiser. So I have a deep disappointment with not only Gloria Steinem, but with Germaine Greer, with Susan Sontag. So many of those women who should have developed and evolved in their thinking have just, celebrity seems to have stopped their development.
What is a legitimate articulation of social ills, things that should be corrected for the benefit of women in general, and what is male bashing?
Well, what was great was that the current phase of feminism, which my generation pushed through, has now opened the professions to women. See, I'm an equal opportunity feminist. That is, I believe there should be no obstructions to women's political and legal advance. Right? So what I'm saying is that a lot of the turbulence that's going on between the sexes is not coming from the social realm, and it is therefore not remediable by passing more rules and regulations. I'm saying we need to look into ourselves psychologically, spiritually, use art and literature. I'm saying that men may have created the social realm and may have been dominant in it, but women have always controlled the emotional or sexual realm. This is what current feminism doesn't realize. Current feminism is victim-centered, victim-obsessed. It sees history as nothing but this panorama of male oppression and female victimage. I hate that. What a horrible bequest to our young women to tell them that their heritage is nothing but victimage.